Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
This is the best of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Years ago, to embarrass me, the producer of Pardon the Interruption, because I lost a bet one day, I think it's to Robert Smith, and had to have a mustache for like 6 hours. I had to go to a movie. I lost a bet to the running back Robert Smith and had to go to a movie 6 hours wearing only just a mustache. Well, not only just a mustache. On my face, there was no other hair other than a mustache.
Right.
Although the other one I just described is a worse visual, better story. So that day, for 6 hours, I had a incredibly round face and a mustache. And the producer of Pardon the Interruption, who loves his arts and crafts, said, I think I'm going to go big on the Le Batard mustache. I wasn't even on the show that day. Every cardboard cutout everywhere on Pardon the Interruption was this face with my mustache. And the reason I bring up this story is because I want to tell you guys right now, and I don't know how we do this today, I want to go big on the Richie Incognito story that we skipped yesterday. He says he should be in the Hall of Fame. He's played for a long time. He was his signature move as a Dolphin was to be a bully. And then before that, what he was the dirtiest player in the league. And now he retires broken, the only one who survived that bullying scandal in any meaningful way, to make Pro Bowls afterward. Jonathan Martin is getting arrested for things he's doing on social media and is out of the sport. And Richie Incognito is making how many Pro Bowls after the bully scandal when Buffalo signs him, and he's great in Buffalo being, one of the dirtiest players in the history of the league.
I think it's been 3, but it's been the last 3 seasons. I'll check on it right now, but he's been to 3 Pro Bowls. So.
Okay, so think about that for a second. Football, for all of Richie Incognito's behavior, rewarded him with chances that end up with him at the end of his career, body failing all over the place, saying, I'm just looking forward to go into the Hall of Fame. He's made 4 Pro Bowls. He won't get into the Hall of Fame because of how dirty a player he was, but to me, he is a symbol for what that sport can be at its dirtiest, and I want you to notice what it is that's getting rewarded there. What's getting rewarded there is that man mauls people. Mauls them. He mauls Asian trainers, he mauls teammates, he mauls others, he mauls himself. And so we've celebrated him around here for years because, again, there were racist slurs, the entire Dolphin organization. The most interesting thing the Dolphins have done in the last 15 years is actually bully a teammate. It's the most interesting thing they've done in 15 years. They're an irrelevant franchise.
They did have an assistant coach snorting cocaine off his desk. I mean,
put it on the poll, Guillermo.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one. At Le Batard Show.
Well, it wasn't a good one.
It's a good one for my purposes. Put it on the poll because I think Stugotz is going to win that. What's more interesting? Cocaine snorted off a coach's desk. Richie Incognito bullying a teammate in a national scandal.
Been quite the last couple of decades.
It really has been. It had the Dolphin football. Man. All right. So anyways, Incognito around here is immortalized in song. We can't play it enough. Again, Richie Incognito screams racist slurs at black guys, but out of love, because that's how he explained it to Jay Glazer while squeezed into a suit that he used at his prom. The one
it was
suit,
reminiscent of Tommy Boy.
The one suit that he wears when he's not, the only suit he can wear when he's not, usually goes to weddings in a toga. So he's got that one suit that he had to press for the big interview with Jay Glazer.
Yeah.
One of the greatest things I've ever seen, which is, I recognize that everything in your upper body is squeezing through the neck that's too tight on the shirt.
It will fit perfectly, though, in a couple of months. Like, once he deflates, I mean.
Yeah, once he goes on the Jeff Saturday diet, or what's that offensive line diet that they all go on, where as soon as they leave football, God, he looks so much healthier. He was exercising all the time, but now that he's simply stopped colliding with people, look at Jeff Saturday. He looks like a normal human being. It is a fairly amazing thing, right?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I mean, just how much weight they lose.
No, what's weird about the offensive lineman, and Schlereth can speak to this, all these guys can speak to it, is this is the funny part about it. I want you to look in that shipping container right now, Stugotz. I want you to look at Fat Chris, at Billy, at Mike, and Roy. These are the normal human sizes of Jeff Saturday and Mark Schlereth. And then they get into football, and they become those bloated things. Jeff Saturday could not have looked any unhealthier in his playing days. But look at what Joe Thomas says. You know what this is from a texter. Joe Thomas, the texter writes in, please put the Joe Thomas on the grid of death. On Twitter, he said that he used to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches out of an entire loaf of bread and eat half of one every hour, followed by a glass of milk. That's how he was eating.
I had this discussion. We were having this discussion about what happens to offensive linemen once they retire, how much weight they lose. They look like different people. We had it recently, I think. Tony Baselli chimed in and actually called him after the show to discuss it. He said he's the exact same size.
Well, Baselli was a weird one. Baselli's just a giant.
Right, well, I was saying, like, Saturday looks different. All these guys look different. And Dan said, listen, you're picking a select few who are on TV. They probably have to look different. He goes, I'm telling you, me and a couple of my friends, we're the same size.
Agreed. Orlando Pace. Well, who was it? Was it Orlando Pace who walked through here? Who was it? No.
McKinney?
No. Well, Bryant McKinney.
Oh, man, he's massive.
No. The guy from the Chiefs. The famous tackle for the Chiefs.
Willie Roaf.
Willie Roaf.
Yeah.
Willie Roaf.
Saints retired number.
Okay, so you physically saw how he walked through here, right? Where his wife had he comes through here to visit us, and his wife, he just disappeared for like a half hour, and his wife was like, sometimes the pain gets so bad that he just needs to walk around. And this is a giant human being. Like, I can't imagine what it's like to be Jeff Saturday or Mark Schlereth and have to climb over the dudes who have the natural frames. Like, that has to be really hard to be eating all the time just so that you could keep up with what is Willie Roaf's normal digestive system.
Man, I'm working so hard.
I'm working so hard. I'm eating all these peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and Baselli just wakes up, tightens the bolts in his neck, and goes and plays left tackle.
And he's 6'7", 340.
That's right. He moves his feet like a soccer player. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get around that at any point in my career. Saturday hates us, right? He's one of the people we're feuding with. Jeff Saturday is one of the many NFL people at the network who hate us.
Hate's probably strong, man. Look, our show's just not for everybody.
I notice he hasn't been on in a long time.
Because our show's just not for everybody.
We got off to a good start, though.
I thought we did. Because we were just asking him nothing. He was our Peyton Manning correspondent.
Yeah, Dan presses sometimes. And, about some of these guys, what happens in the locker room stays in the locker room, and they don't like to get pressed.
Some people are requesting the Larrañaga song. I'm down for picking 3 of the best songs that we've got back there and just playing them next segment.
If I were to pick 3 of the best songs, I cannot tell you how far down the list the Jim Larrañaga song is.
All right.
I do not want to subject the nation to that just because he signed an extension. It's so bad.
All right, well, do me a favor, please. What do you think are the best? Thank you for all of you who are writing in with Matt Burke. Yeah, Matt Burke became a Kenyan marathoner as soon as he left football.
I'm doing the Google this game, and I Googled Mark Schlereth Conan. It was an appearance right after the Broncos won the Super Bowl.
Oh, how bloated was he?
Look how small his head, and he has a massive noggin.
Inflated with air. Like, his whole body is inflated. Well, we're going to assume it's air.
I can't look at that picture. I know exactly the picture you're talking about. It's jarring. I can't look at it anymore. It makes me uncomfortable, man.
Look, man, all you need to do to win a lawsuit, even on concussion, is just go to the courtroom and show them that picture of Schlereth and then say, is football healthy? That's right. Yep. That Mark Schlereth photo is a horror. It is a horror.
Oh, my God.
That is not healthy in any way. That's him making a television appearance. That's him at his best.
That's him actually sitting next to Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
All right, I want to go big on the incognito thing.
Dan Batard.
You're announcing that you will not announce that they are a good team until they've won back-to-back.
Yeah.
But because you are taking away all of Kevin Durant's championships in your personal record book, you are never allowing him to win them back-to-back, even if they win them back-to-back, thus securing that you never have to identify them as a great team.
Correct.
Stugotz.
I hate when I wander around in your head and see all the empty spaces and the tumbleweed blown around in it.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Rachel Nichols is going to join us at 11:30. She says that Mbamute going down for the Rockets, that's an important loss. She says that's important. They are a top 5 defense. He helps with that a great deal. Amin Al-Hassan has been telling you for a long time that Mbamute is one of the reasons that he thought the Clippers were going to get further than they did, and that he believes this is an important piece to the Rockets. I would argue that Mbamute never wins you a title. Never, never. And if you're counting on him too much, like he's another one of these cephaloshes, like I'm not saying he's not good. I'm not saying he's not important. I'm not saying he doesn't help them with their defense.
There's 100 guys like him, is what you're saying?
I'm saying that those guys aren't the guys that matter in the playoffs. Every once in a while, Ron Artest will bail out Kobe Bryant in a Game 7, but that's not usually how that works. Sometimes a utility, just one of these nomad players, will help you win a home game because they do that sometimes in the playoffs.
But I think a guy like a glue guy defensively on a team that maybe doesn't have good individual defenders, I'm not certain that's not as important as you're making it out to be.
And that's fine. I'm just saying that guy, by name, by role, by minutes, that guy is never a decider. Or hardly ever a decider.
Shane Battier erupted that Game 7.
I'm just so tired of these. But Shane Battier can do that, and 10 other guys can do it. 20 other guys could do it. Shane Battier wasn't doing it before that, and then all of a sudden, you know how he fixed it?
By aiming left?
That's right. He said his shot was so off that he aimed a little off, and they kept going in. That is the actual explanation for that. That's playoff veteran right there. That's veteran experience. Do you have that story? Shane Battier telling us that story of explaining, that whole game, that Game 7 thing where I hit all those threes, I was aiming elsewhere. It felt good. My shot was gone all playoffs,
right? But
I figured it out in Game 7.
Sometimes just a little tweak, Dan, to your normal routine. Just a little tweak helps you get back in the groove, you know?
But what I would say of the Rockets is whomever they put in there, because, I don't know how the minutes divided, but it would have been Patrick Beverley if it wasn't Mbamute. Like, Patrick Beverley was going to be that glue guy, and then he got hurt.
Well, I think he went to the Clippers, didn't he?
They have a few glue guys. They have P.J. Tucker, who really has to step up now. He has to be extra glue guy because Mbamute is out.
Mike, don't they have 3 guys and the rest of the roster is glue guys?
I thought they were all glue guys except for the 3 guys.
Well, Mbamute's super glue. He's
super glue? All right, put it on the poll, Guillermo. Is Mbamute not a glue guy, but rather super glue?
I'm going to have to read that later.
Yes.
P.J. Tucker's more flex seal.
Yeah. Give you some threes, valuable threes off the bench, a little defense.
All right, hold on.
Plays.
Let's do this. Since you guys want to do this. All right, who's the glue guy now that Battier's retired? Who is the glue guy? Who gets to be? Because Perk used to be the glue guy for those champion Celtics, but we were laughing at him joining the Cavs yesterday.
Oh, James Posey, iconic glue guy.
Yeah.
Helped win a 2006.
Who's the most iconic of the glue guys?
Well, I will tell you right now, I think it's Iguodala, is it not?
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
right?
But there should be a rule against your glue guy having once been a franchise player and all-star.
There are a lot of glue guys. Only a few of them get to be super glue, and I don't think Mbamute qualifies.
Wow. Big Shot Bob?
Yeah, well,
oh, absolutely.
Of course. He's the first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah. He's the reason they invented glue. No, you know what? I got it wrong. That's a totally different category. That's missing piece. Missing piece is not glue guy. Those guys are 2 different guys.
So who's their missing piece? Wow. They did add Gerald Green. He stepped up for them.
He did. He actually had some good games.
See, this is why I'm tired of this conversation. You guys have been trying to rope me into this conversation for 7 years, telling me Jeff Green is a missing piece and a glue guy. Jeff Green.
Well, they did add Joe Johnson.
Yeah.
They were missing a Joe Johnson piece.
They were.
Kind of gluey.
It can be both, right?
Who's super glue? Who's a Shane Battier's retired. He is the ultimate glue guy, is he not?
Nene, is he their glue?
No, he's a gladiator. He's a gladiator who joins you on a quest.
Tony Kukoc?
No, they hated him.
Yeah, they hated him.
He's kind of gluey.
He is kind of gluey, even though you can be gluey when they hate you.
No, on those teams, like those Bulls teams, it was Horace Grant. He was there.
Oh,
he was
yeah.
But your glue guy can't sign the contract that big.
I mean, Allison, get me Papa Grant on the phone because he made 2 glue guys. Or Mama Grant. I guess I don't even know. Horace.
Yeah.
Weren't they both glue guys? weren't both the Grants glue guys. One of them just didn't
play with Jordan.
That is correct. The key difference between the glue guys is one of them played with Jordan. Correct. Getting back to my original point, that the Mbamutes don't decide anything.
The other ones play with Brent Price.
That's right. There were two.
That's what happens to you when you play with Brent Price.
That's it. There's the basketball analysis right there. There were two Grant brothers. You remember one. Why? Because he played with Shaq and Jordan.
That's funny.
Battier was a glue guy a lot in Memphis, where they lost, and then he became a glue guy with who? Wade, LeBron, and Bosh.
Talk about aim all he wants. He was playing with those guys.
He could aim wherever he wanted to. They were going to win at the end 2 or 4 times. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, we could keep breaking this down if you want. Like, oh, should they have played Mbamute in a game that doesn't matter? You know, their season was decided. And that's probably fair criticism.
Great glue guy, Kurt Rambis.
Oh, yeah.
A tremendous glue guy. And
yeah.
Danny Ainge, too, for the Celtics. I'm telling you.
Yeah, sticky.
Man, those are words I don't like used around Kurt Rambis when I play word association with what I know about Kurt Rambis.
What do you know about Kurt Rambis?
I mean, when I think of Kurt Rambis, there are a handful of things that I think of. Just a couple. Somewhere between a handful and a couple. Somewhere between a deal and a big deal. Might be a small deal. It's goggles. There's the goggles, right?
Naturally.
Of course.
Yeah, and porn.
Don Le Batard.
You're announcing that you will not announce that they are a good team until they've won back-to-back.
Yeah.
But because you are taking away all of Kevin Durant's championships in your personal record book,
right,
you are never allowing him to win them back-to-back, even if they win them back-to-back, thus securing that you never have to identify them as a great team.
Correct.
Stugotz.
I hate when I wander around in your head and see all the empty spaces and the tumbleweed blown around in it.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Rachel Nichols is going to join us at 11:30. She says that Mbamute going down for the Rockets, that's an important loss. She says that's important. They are a top 5 defense. He helps with that a great deal. Amin Al-Hassan has been telling you for a long time that Mbamute is one of the reasons that he thought the Clippers were going to get further than they did, and that he believes this is an important piece to the Rockets. I would argue that Mbamute never wins you a title. Never. And if you're counting on him too much, like he's another one of these cephaloshes, like I'm not saying he's not good. I'm not saying he's not important. I'm not saying he doesn't help them with their defense.
There's 100 guys like him, is what you're saying?
I'm saying that those guys aren't the guys that matter in the playoffs. Every once in a while, Ron Artest will bail out Kobe Bryant in a Game 7, but that's not usually how that works. Sometimes a utility, just one of these nomad players, will help you win a home game because they do that sometimes in the playoffs.
But I think a guy like a glue guy defensively on a team that maybe doesn't have good individual defenders, I'm not certain that's not as important as you're making it out to be.
And that's fine. I'm just saying that guy, by name, by role, by minutes, that guy is never a decider. Or hardly ever a decider.
Shane Battier erupted that Game 7.
I'm just so tired of these. But Shane Battier can do that, and 10 other guys can do it. 20 other guys could do it. Shane Battier wasn't doing it before that, and then all of a sudden, you know how he fixed it?
By aiming left?
That's right. He said his shot was so off that he aimed a little off, and they kept going in. That is the actual explanation for that. That's playoff veteran right there. That's veteran experience. Do you have that story? Shane Battier telling us that story of explaining, that whole game, that Game 7 thing where I hit all those threes, I was aiming elsewhere. It felt good. My shot was gone all playoffs,
right?
But I figured it out in Game 7.
Sometimes just a little tweak, Dan, to your normal routine. Just a little tweak helps you get back in the groove, you know?
But what I would say of the Rockets is whomever they put in there, because, I don't know how the minutes divided, but it would have been Patrick Beverley if it wasn't Mbamute. Like, Patrick Beverley was going to be that glue guy, and then he got hurt.
Well, I think he went to the Clippers, didn't he?
They have a few glue guys. They have PJ Tucker, who really has to step up now. He has to be extra glue guy because Mbamute is out.
Mike, don't they have 3 guys and the rest of the roster is glue guys?
I thought they were all glue guys except for the 3 guys.
Well, Mba'amute's super glue.
He's super glue? All right, put it on the poll, Guillermo. Is Mba'amute not a glue guy, but rather super glue?
I'm going to have to read that later.
Yes.
PJ Tucker's more Flex Seal.
Yeah. Give you some threes, valuable threes off the bench, a little defense.
All right, hold on.
Plays.
Let's do this. Since you guys want to do this. All right, who's the glue guy now that Battier's retired? Who is the glue guy? Who gets to be? Because Perk used to be the glue guy for those champion Celtics, but we were laughing at him joining the Cavs yesterday.
Oh, James Posey, iconic glue guy.
Yeah.
Helped win a 2006.
Who's the most iconic of the glue guys?
Well, I will tell you right now, I think it's Iguodala, is it not?
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
right?
But there should be a rule against your glue guy having once been a franchise player and all-star.
There are a lot of glue guys. Only a few of them get to be super glue, and I don't think Mba'amute qualifies.
Wow. Big Shot Bob?
Yeah, well,
oh, absolutely. I mean,
of course. He's the first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah. He's the reason they invented glue. No, you know what? I got it wrong. That's a totally different category. That's missing piece. Missing piece is not glue guy. Those guys are two different guys.
So who's their missing piece? Wow. They did add Gerald Green. He stepped up for them.
He did. He actually had some good games.
See, this is why I'm tired of this conversation. You guys have been trying to rope me into this conversation for 7 years, telling me Jeff Green is a missing piece and a glue guy. Jeff Green.
Well, they did add Joe Johnson.
Yeah.
They were missing a Joe Johnson piece.
They were.
Kind of gluey.
It can be both, right?
Who's super glue? Shane Battier's retired. He is the ultimate glue guy, is he not?
Nene, is he their glue?
No, he's a gladiator. He's a gladiator who joins you on a quest.
Tony Kukoc?
No, they hated him.
Yeah, they hated him.
He's kind of gluey.
He is kind of gluey, even though you can be gluey when they hate you.
No, on those teams, like those Bulls teams, it was Horace Grant. He was there.
Oh,
he was
yeah.
But your glue guy can't sign the contract that big.
I mean, Allison, get me Papa Grant on the phone because he made two glue guys. Or Mama Grant. I guess I don't even know. Horace.
Yeah.
Weren't they both glue guys? Weren't both the Grants glue guys? One of them just didn't
play with Jordan.
That is correct. That is the key difference between the glue guys is one of them played with Jordan. Correct. Getting back to my original point, the thing about Mba'amute don't decide anything.
The other ones play with Brent Price.
That's right. There were two.
That's what happens to you when you play with Brent Price.
That's it. There's the basketball analysis right there. There were two Grant brothers. You remember one. Why? Because he played with Shaq and Jordan.
That's funny.
Battier was a glue guy a lot in Memphis where they lost and lost and lost, and then he became a glue guy with who? Wade, LeBron, and Bosh.
Talk about aim all he wants. He was playing with those guys.
He could aim wherever he wanted to. They were going to win at the end 2 or 4 times. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, we could keep breaking this down if you want. Like, oh, should they have played Mba'amute in a game that doesn't matter? You know, their season was decided. And that's probably fair criticism.
Great glue guy, Kurt Rambis.
Oh, yeah.
A tremendous glue guy. And Danny Ainge, too, for the Celtics. I'm telling you.
Yeah, sticky.
Man, those are words I don't like used around Kurt Rambis when I play word association with what I know about Kurt Rambis.
What do you know about Kurt Rambis?
I mean, when I think of Kurt Rambis, there are a handful of things that I think of. Just a couple. Somewhere between a handful and a couple. Somewhere between a deal and a big deal. Might be a small deal. It's goggles. There's the goggles, right?
Naturally.
Of course.
Yeah, and porn.
Catch more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz, 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNU.
Ryan! I don't know how else to say this, so I'll just say it.
What is it, Linda?
I think we should see other people.
Are you breaking up with me? On a roller coaster?
Well, we do have a lot of fun. Maybe we should stay together.
An emotional roller coaster? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I just need a little me time.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Dan Le Batard.
Let's go back to Mel Kiper Jr.'s list of divas.
Number 2, definitely on my diva big board is Whitney Houston. Definitely been going back and forth on this one throughout the process. Dan certainly has all the tools. You talk about an I Will Always Love You, arguably the greatest ballad of all time, but ultimately I couldn't escape the off-the-field concerns. Hanging around with a shady group. Dan, this has a lot of team executives a little nervous, a little gun-shy to pull the trigger on Whitney Houston.
He's dead!
That would be an off-the-field concern, Dan.
Stugotz.
Number 1, Beyonce Knowles, 5'7", 137 pounds, extremely confident in her abilities, powerful voice, incredible agility, has proven she can be part of a team, but also go out on her own and win you a game. Astonishing lower body strength, too. She could probably squat a cement truck, Dano. Consider me a loud and proud member of the Beehive. She's overcome a lot of adversity, weak teammates, lack of roster continuity, pregnancies, Becky with the good hair, displayed incredible resiliency. There's a reason she's bae.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, with insurance for cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Rachel Nichols will be there in a half hour, 11:30 Eastern. Here's your SportsCenter update. Final day of the NBA regular season. Tonight's Nuggets-Timberwolves game decides the 8th seed in the Western Conference. How about that? Little playoff game tonight, Michael. Playoffs start tonight. Play-in game. Nuggets, T-Wolves. I got to tell you, T-Wolves do not get to the playoffs. Thibodeau's got to go. Seriously.
Wait a minute. So those two teams, I didn't know that. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
In the West, the last time I checked on Minnesota, they were the 3 seed.
Yep, Jimmy Butler got hurt.
But also in that conference, 3 and 9 were separated by 2 games.
Okay, so you're saying to me that the Timberwolves are playing tonight at Denver.
Yes.
At Denver, and that game is a playoff game. Minnesota does not get into the playoffs.
Yes, winner gets the 8th seed, loser goes home. And Mike is right. Right now, the Nuggets are outside. They're the 9th seed right now.
You got to go Nuggets there, don't you?
Well, no, but Dan, this is what separates the Jazz, the 3 seed, and the Nuggets, the 9 seed. 2 games.
That's funny.
It's crazy.
Well, how about this, though? How about this? The Nuggets don't have stars. Minnesota's got stars.
Yes.
This game tonight on the road is a playoff game. It is a home playoff game. It is a game 7 for the Denver Nuggets.
Correct.
At home.
Yes.
Home teams win those games, but this home team doesn't have, they've got a star, but they don't have this Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns.
And Jimmy Butler.
Well, but Jimmy Butler's...
But he's back now. Mm-hmm. He's playing again.
Gary Harris also back for Denver.
Yeah.
Who do you favor in that game? Are the Timberwolves favored in that game?
I'm not certain.
Because
Nuggets pretty good at home, right?
Sports going
on.
Right?
Nuggets are 31-10 at home. I'd be surprised if the T-Wolves are...
I know, but the T-Wolves got the stars. This is an actual interesting playoff game being played tonight.
It is, and here's the funny thing. If even win or lose, the T-Wolves have fallen well below expectations. Win or lose. Denver doesn't matter. They've already exceeded expectations.
But wait a minute.
It's amazing, huh?
Wait a minute.
That's what happens. You have 3 stars. They only have 1.
I also don't think it's accurate because
totally accurate.
Because if Minnesota won 3 more games, they'd be the 3 seed, and then you would not say that they were underachieving.
Good season.
Minnesota -1.5. It opened. It's currently at -3.
Yeah,
Wow.
Minnesota's being favored because they got the stars.
Right. Pound the Nuggets.
I'd take Denver that game. I would.
Right. Well, I just said I was going to do the same thing. You want to...
Let's see if we're going to move the line down, you and me?
Yes.
You and me by agreeing that the Nuggets should be favored in a home game?
Yes.
Well, it's not a home game.
Did you read the internet wrong, Stugotz?
It just said Nuggets Timberwolves.
You mother.
It just said Nuggets
That game's
Timberwolves.
in Minnesota?
It just said Nuggets Timberwolves.
I asked you specifically if the game was in Denver, and your response was, yes, the game is in Denver.
Did I say that?
$2.
Oh, man.
$2.
I hope I have some money on me today.
Do you need to finish that Sports Center?
Yep. I'll check my my wallet in just a second here. Having to make up a 3-goal deficit on aggregate, Roma shocked Barcelona to advance to the Champions League semifinals. And finally, Milwaukee television reporter AJ Bayatpour, I have no idea how to say that, was arrested on battery charges after police said he punched a reporter from a rival network at a Brewers game. Neither was attending the game for work.
That's a great story.
For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day. Checking the money situation.
I already saw the money in your hand.
How is that? I haven't taken it out yet.
In fact, I overheard you during the break saying, God, I have so much cash.
Exposed!
All right, so $2. $2 is the fine. Mike, what am I supposed to do with this? So the White Sox, was it the White Sox and the Orioles that played was that the White Sox home opener that drew like that? Where where you had a crowd at a baseball game yesterday. And I don't know if it was the home opener or not, but I think there were fewer than 1,000 people there.
According to Sports Illustrated, 974 people reportedly attended Monday's White Sox game.
Okay, but was it a home opener or was it just a White Sox game? Because
the Cubs home opener was snowed out. The White Sox still played, and they played in front of 974 people.
Okay, well, freezing is part of it, okay? I wouldn't want to sit. I can't think of a lot of things that I'd like to sit outdoors for less than a baseball game if it's freezing.
That's funny.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
Yes.
Those 900 people need to be given vouchers to more games in the future because nobody should be sitting in the stands of that game.
They are loyal. You're right.
If it's freezing at a baseball game.
I mean,
it's awful.
Right across town, the crosstown rivals canceled their opening day because the weather was so bad.
That's right. So I don't blame baseball on this, but there are some places. This is something I do find interesting about baseball. Weirdly, baseball is ahead of everybody when it comes to digital age media, advanced media. This historically conservative sport is so much better at the technology of media than all the other sports. And in doing so, they've created reasons for you not to go to the ballpark. They've created something that allows their business model to function, and BAM Tech wants to get involved, and each team is getting, $50 million from BAM Tech because they've created a model that largely doesn't matter if people are sitting in the stands, as the Marlins are proving. Your team will make money.
Right.
Your team will make money, and so what you do is you end up incentivizing in some ways these teams to not win. Here, you could just make money. You could sit here and field a minor league roster. You don't even have to draw fans. You can have 1,000 fans because how interesting are the White Sox this year? How it's been a minute since the White Sox were interesting. It's when they had the loudmouth manager.
Right, Ozzie Guillen, right. That's the last time they were interesting. They're not very interesting at all. But you're right. You don't need fans. Major League Baseball has done it right, which is strange considering the sport. All good points that they're leading on the digital front, and you don't really need to get it's nice to have it. It's more revenue, obviously, but you don't need attendance to make a lot of money in Major League Baseball.
Here is part of the scam being run right now in South Florida, where you have lawsuits being filed, and the Marlins are sitting here claiming that they're a resident of the British Virgin Islands. Hey, can we call that Teamco at some point here? I'd like to call Teamco, the Marlins Teamco offshore account that we were talking about yesterday. They're being sued, and they're claiming in a local lawsuit that they're not local, that their primary base is in the British Virgin Islands. And I'd like to call Teamco wherever it is that those headquarters are. Allison, let's see if we can get those people on the phone. But what's happening down here with the Marlins, Stugotz, is partially that. Derek Jeter bought in on something where he was incurring a lot of debt and he overspent on it. And now the way to fix the business model is it doesn't matter if you get fans. Just grab some of that digital money, see if you could get some of that regional TV money, and it doesn't matter if you have customers who actually come to your games and eat your food.
Right, those that do, it's just bonus. That's it, right?
And so that's what baseball's got happening in a handful of markets, and it's great for business, and it's pretty terrible for the customers of that business. Let's call them live, Mike. Let's just call.
Well,
yeah.
You are living dangerously, my
Let's
friend.
just call
are you aware of the rules here?
Yes, let's see if we can smoke out their owner, Bruce Sherman, over there in the British Island.
But do we have any plan here? Like, what are we going to tell them?
I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go.
Okay.
Cheers, and thank you for calling Marlins Teamco FC, an international holdings company. For English, press 1. For English, press 2. For English, press 3. For Anglais, press 4. We are currently closed for tea time, but we will get back to you as promptly as possible. To leave a message for Lord Juta of York, please remain on the line. Also, please note that in observance of the royal wedding, unfortunately our match against the Braves of Atlanta on the 19th of May has been rescheduled. Cheerio, and God save the Queen.
You want to leave a message, Stugotz? Do we wait for the beep? Or are we just on hold?
We're on hold, though.
All right, we're just on hold. All right, we'll just wait for somebody to pick up the phone eventually. Okay, very good.
This show ain't free. Time for some ads.
Was I supposed to do something there?
I thought maybe you should leave a message.
I just want to say this, though. We botched so many things with that White Sox story that I can't get past all the criticism that is being lobbed our way.
What is wrong with the White Sox story? Let's find
everything.
All we were doing is building up to the joke at the end of the segment where we pretended to call a British person. Was that Liam?
Don Batard.
Dan has it.
Oh my God! No, this is a Bomani question. Mavis Staples, go.
Stugotz.
You can't hold papers together without some Mavis Staples. I mean, everyone knows that.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
All right, let's recover here for a moment because Stugotz is out of sorts, and we took a cut last segment, and sometimes we are whiffers around here. We try to take big swings, pornographic hacks. And sometimes they work, and sometimes we swing and we miss. And the texters in those times are always real gentle and stuff. So because we just got done with a segment where we pretended to call what was clearly a fake place. We get this via text. Fake phone call.
You don't get the show.
And then right after that, swing and a miss.
He's that guy.
Thanks. All of it right. You are correct. It was a fake phone call. And you are also correct. It was a swing and a miss. Where you're not correct is we know too. It's not lost on us when something's not funny.
You want to try the setup again? Because I think this can work.
All right, let's try it again.
Let's try it again. It was an awkward start and an awkward ending.
It's all on me. It's all on me. It's all my fault when things aren't funny around here.
You have to pretend you're calling. We got to start over again.
Okay. I got to pretend. Hey, Mike. All right, my bad. Mike. Let's this shell corporation the Marlins are running out of that phony island. Can we call them live on the air here, Mike?
Oh, Dan, you're aware of the rules here, right? You can't just call people on the air unsuspecting.
I want to do it anyway.
No, you're such a
do it immediately.
You're a renegade.
Get me an immediate dial tone.
You cannot do this.
Let's break all international nautical laws. Thank you.
Believable setup.
We have to pretend to dial.
That one was our fault.
That one was us.
That was our fault.
That one was
set it up again, Dan.
I'll make the noise like we're dialing.
Okay, you make the noise because we can't do that on the fly.
All right. So Dan, pretend you want to call it.
Set it up again, Dan.
Hey, can you guys call that shell corporation that...
we can't. Are you aware of the rules here?
No, I want to do it anyways because I'm a rebellious maverick going against the company and international law and nautical law.
I'm doing this against my will.
Yes, I know. Let's risk. The pirate ship must risk all fines and consequences. Let's call live.
Doot, 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 doot.
All right. A little scared, Stugotz. What are we going to say?
No.
We need it to stop ringing at exactly 4 times.
Cheers, and thank you for calling Marlins Team Co. FC, an international holdings company. For English, press 1.
3 times.
For English, press 2.
That's a fine.
For English, press 3. For Anglais, press 4. We are currently closed for tea time, but we will get back to you as promptly as possible. To leave a message for Lord Jeter of York, please remain on the line. Also, please note that in observance of the royal wedding, unfortunately our match against the Braves of Atlanta on the 19th of May has been rescheduled. Cheerio, and God save the Queen.
I've had it with these elitists. Hang up the phone. I will not leave a message. I will not. I'll tell you what the problem was. Lord Jeter of York is all you guys had.
And the English joke.
Yeah.
You guys didn't have anything other than Lord Jeter of York. If you'd had Lord Jeter of York throughout it, it wouldn't have required a better setup.
Did you hear the music, though?
The music?
British music.
Yeah.
I mean, the real like a filter on it, so it sounded like it was over a phone.
I love you guys, but the real problem is it just wasn't funny.
That's correct.
But for English, press 1. For English, press 2.
I'll tell you what was funny.
For English,
all the options were English.
You get it now? A game against the Braves of Atlanta was rescheduled due to the Royal
the match.
And we got a voicemail because of tea time.
Stereotypical British shows.
Also, what are we doing where we're making the Caribbean part of Great Britain?
That's another thing. Yes, but that's part of it too.
Aren't we like really insulting them by making it just Great Britain?
Did you guys reject like words like crumpets and stuff, or did
that wouldn't come up in a voicemail?
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
Okay. That would be absurd.
I want to ask you something, Guillermo, because the thing that you were actually laughing about was during the break when we were doing the Better Show, laughing at Stugotz.
Oh God!
So to correct some things about all our misinformation involving the Chicago White Sox baseball game that drew fewer than 1,000 fans, they were not playing the Orioles; they were playing Tampa Bay. It was not their opening day. But this was my favorite part. Stugotz is saying, guys, everyone's saying that White Sox-Rays game was in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Was in Minnesota, guys, and the problem with that
neutral
was...
field inside, maybe. Snow.
The problem...
It's not inside and hasn't
When
been
did
for
that
several
happen?
When did that happen?
I think like 2009.
But I need to explain to the audience that hasn't been with us the whole time why that's so funny. Stugotz, because he doesn't pay attention, doesn't listen, gets distracted by things, and is always negotiating a scam. Stugotz was being corrected in the Minnesota text because he had the Denver-Minnesota game, playoff game in the West, being played in Denver when it was actually in Minnesota. So Stugotz was just catching up on previous corrections on things that he said wrong, all the while not listening, all the while distracted because he's in negotiations asking for more money.
I haven't slept in days, man. I mean, seriously. Negotiating things is tough. And I've been up all night writing this book. I mean, the Twinkies no longer playing the Metrodome?
When?
But that's an outrage. See, first of all, it's cold in Minnesota.
They're
playing outdoors?
Only when the weather's good, Stugotz.
What do you mean only when the weather's good? They have a retractable roof? I mean, no one cares about Twinkies baseball, and they got enough funding to get a retractable roof?
Oh, that's interesting. So Stugotz doesn't care about Twinkies baseball, so nobody does.
No one's going to watch Justin Morneau. Listen, I know he had an MVP season, but he's well past his prime, and no one's going to watch Justin Morneau.
Wait a minute. Come on. You got to go Ken Herbeck and Gary Gaetti. Don't you have to go into...
There's no one in our audience who have heard of those
Kirby
people.
Puckett, but the funny names are in the 90s. The funny names. Am I wrong about this?
I mean, Morneau, the most recent MVP, I think, right?
You got Dan Gladden. Come on.
That's a good one. Gladden scored the game-winning run in the World Series there.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Who would you go there? You would have went Herbeck?
Herbeck's the
over
funniest
Gaetti?
name. Okay, Gaetti's a good one. Gary Gaetti is a good one. Kent Herbeck is a better one.
I love those teams.
Yes, I could play that game for the rest of the time. Just 90s baseball players.
Let's do it.
Dan Le Batard.
La 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 la. La 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 la.
Stugotz.
Hey. Goodbye.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Rachel Nichols going to join us in just a minute here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
Chuck Knobloch.
Oh, man. Michael Kadire.
Oh, yeah.
Corey Koski. What you got?
Oh, good. Oh,
Doug Minkiewicz. How about that?
Henry Cotto.
Oh, wow.
Oh!
Rick Aguilera. Ags.
Junior Felix.
Brad Radke.
Brad Radke is the name that Mike was trying to say in your ear, not Rad Radke.
I didn't say Rad Radke. He was Rad, though. That was his nickname, Rad. Brad. Are we done? You're out of twins?
Are you claiming that you're the victor? Oh, I stopped naming twins. I was just naming 90s guys. I wasn't naming just Twins.
So I won.
Okay, you win.
All right. Here's your Sports Center update. Final day of the NBA regular season. Shannon Stewart.
Uga Thurbina.
Oh, my God.
No, I'm still doing other teams.
I don't think Urbina played in the 80s, dude. I just called you dude. First time in 15 years I called you dude.
We were doing the 90s.
Oh, you're on to the 90s.
That's all I was doing was the 90s.
I was doing 80s. You were doing 90s. Bob Horner.
That's 80s.
I think that's 90s.
Bob Horner? No, Bob Horner is 80s.
Harmon Killebrew.
Oh, for the love of God.
You got one? Anyway, Dan, it's the final day of the NBA regular season, but the first day of the postseason. Big one tonight. It's in Minnesota, by the way. It's the Nuggets and the Timberwolves, and whoever wins the game is the 8th seed in the Western Conference.
Mark Gubiza.
Oh, man. Dan Quisenberry.
Ooh, that's a good name. I salute you.
Thank you. So anyway, this is the final regular. It's the rare regular season game that is a postseason game.
Jesse Orozco.
Oh, wow. Roger McDowell.
I'll do this for the rest of the show. I know Rachel Nichols is waiting. Rachel, wait a minute. Rachel might enjoy this game as well.
All right, I got one for you. Nails.
90s baseball players. We'll go to Rachel Nichols on that. We'll give her a second. Hold on a second. Finish the sports flash.
For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Thank you. So Rachel Nichols is joining us. She'll be hosting an NBA special tonight at 9 on ESPN2. And Friday night, she's hosting a playoff preview special at 7 on ESPN. Basically, she is the face of basketball here for a while during this fun time of year. So Rachel's joining us now. Do you want to talk, Rachel? Thank you for joining us about 90s baseball players.
I'm just excited that you guys are aware that tonight's huge game between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves is going to be played at the Metrodome.
That's right. That's right. That's where some of our mistakes started there.
Kyle Loesch is on the mound.
Kyle Loesch. Do you watch tonight? This is the playoffs start tonight, right? I mean, it's Denver, Minnesota. The playoffs start right now.
I mean, sort of they start right now, except it's the regular season. Yeah, we will be watching on TV. That's what we're doing. So we do the jump every day. It's at 3 o'clock your time. It's an hour of talking about basketball. Then tonight, we're all watching not only that game, there's a bunch of other games that have an effect on seeding. Like the standings are crazy. There's a bunch of teams. The top two are set in each conference, but basically when you get to 3 through 8, it's insanity on both sides of the bracket. This is a very unusual year. Normally a lot by this time of year is set. So we're all going to be sitting around with like 6 screens watching these games, and they're like, hey, could you go do that on television? So we will do that tonight on ESPN2, watching these games as they all kind of pop in and talking about them with Scottie Pippen and Tracy McGrady and kind of see where everyone ends up for the playoffs. And then you wait 3 days for the playoffs to start, which is annoying, and then they start this weekend.
So, yes, you're going to be watching tonight, as I said in that promo, and then asked you the question of whether or not you'd be watching. No, this isn't your fault. It's my fault.
That's fine.
Stugotz is sitting here accusing the Timberwolves of being underachievers, and all I want is the best Steven Jackson and Tracy McGrady stories that you've got. Like, they must have told great stories on the air.
Yeah, well, on the air, yes. We ran something pretty funny where we were talking about player injuries, and Stack, of course, is, the most injured he ever was in his entire NBA career is when he broke his pinky. And, he's so tough that the only thing he ever hurt was his pinky, that kind of thing. But no, I asked Allison, I said, when people ask you, they must ask Allison, oh my God, you work on the Batard show. Tell me your funny Dan story. Tell me your Stugotz story. And I expected her to say, yeah, it's annoying. People ask that. And then, you never know what to say. And she goes, oh no, I just tell them that Dan goes and lies down in the middle of the day. Mm-hmm. And meditates on the floor for no reason.
That's right.
Lloyd Mosby.
But I'm not asking for your best McGrady or Steven Jackson story of an interaction. I'm asking, they must tell amazing stories on the air because both of those two guys are so uniquely unfiltered.
Yes, that is certainly true. Tracy has told the story on the air, and because he didn't really use the names, and I'm definitely not going to use the names because I don't remember them, which I think is a great way of being able to promise sources anonymity because my memory's gotten so terrible over the years. Just about, a teammate of his who ended up having to jump through a window at a hotel because of a visit on the road from one person when they were expecting someone else. But I don't know any of the specifics, so I'm terrible at
it was Yao Ming.
Stories. I don't know. Can I start telling?
It was Yao Ming because that's the visually funniest one. I don't know whether it was actually Yao Ming or not. I just think it's funny.
Rico Bronya.
What's your best Stugotz story? Everyone must ask about Stugotz everywhere you go, constantly. That must be all anyone wants to talk about.
What is my favorite Stugotz story?
Oh, my God.
There's so many good ones. I mean, one of the ones I like to tell was when he was, handling his own negotiations, and we ended up with less money than when we started.
Yeah, well, you did.
Yeah, that's true. I did. That's true. You did fine. I did. Yeah. It's becoming a less fun story as I think about it.
Resentment is forming.
Yes.
Rachel, it took us years to get past this. I mean,
yeah.
I'm happy to have brought it up. So basically you're telling me that I want Stugotz to negotiate Tracy McGrady's next contract and I'll make out great.
I mean, McGrady's got a future in this business if he wants to keep talking honestly like this.
What he's telling you, Rachel, is I'll negotiate the deal for everyone, and the only one that's going to turn out great is me. Okay?
That's the way that usually works.
Yes.
I mean, you could have seen that coming, let's be honest.
You thought, you said on Twitter last night that you thought in Baamute that's an important loss, and I was arguing before you came on that there is no such thing as the seventh or eighth guy in a playoff game. That doesn't mean a seventh or eighth guy can't win you a playoff game. That's not usually the reason you win or lose. You think it might be?
Well, I think I was confused for a minute as you went into that, that maybe you were arguing there was no such thing as a Maamute. But no, like when the Oklahoma City Thunder played this season, everyone's like, of course, focused on Paul George and Russell Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony. But it's Andre Robertson, when he got hurt in the middle of the season, we came on TV the next day and said, this is a big deal. This is going to be a problem. He's such a good defender. You know, he covers up so many other people's mistakes, and he lets Paul George be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. And you had a lot of people kind of push back and say, oh, come on. You know, he can't play offense at all. He can't shoot the ball. That team has 3 stars. That's what you need to worry about. And not shockingly, over the next 6 weeks, that team almost fell off the face of the earth. Because you have that one guy who sort of makes everybody else work. And Maamute is kind of like that. I don't think he's as much of a fall off the face of the, makes the whole team fall off the face of the earth just because the Rockets have so much of a deeper team. So they've, a few guys like that if they were missing him and PJ Tucker and a few other guys. But I do think that it's something to watch when you have a team like the Warriors in the conference and we think, oh my gosh, maybe, possibly this Rockets team is the one that can finally knock them off. They better be at full strength if they're trying to knock them off. And this guy is a big part of what they do.
Atlee Hammaker.
Rachel will be hosting an NBA special tonight, 9 on ESPN2. On Friday night, she's hosting a playoff preview special at 7 on ESPN. This demands an answer. We've been arguing about it all morning. Now that Shane Battier has retired, who is the league's first ballot Hall of Famer presently playing as a glue guy? As one of these Baamute glue guys. Now, right now, one of these alleged, Perk, the Cavs are exhuming Perk here before the playoffs. Yep. He used to be a glue guy. Now, glue guy, according to Rachel Nichols, super glue guy in the league is?
David West is a big glue guy.
Okay, you didn't go with conviction there, Rachel. You were
asking us.
You were kind of asking us. You got to have more conviction than that on a glue guy. It's got to be. Right. You're right.
Like Rachel, this is how you do it. You just say Andre Iguodala. That's it. Yeah. End of discussion. Period. End of discussion.
Okay. Yes, you could. No nuance.
But that's not the right answer.
I think it is. I mean,
on a team, I was trying to think of someone on a team that's going to end up somewhere in the playoffs.
But Rachel, here's the problem. Here's the problem, and the real flaw. The real flaw in the construct of your argument. We've already established the rules that a glue guy can't be a former All-Star. He can't be a former. Yes, see, because to be a super glue guy, all you're contributing to the team really is glue. It's not very much. It's just you're just this sticky substance that becomes Shane Battier, the ultimate glue guy. So who is it now?
Who's the glue guy of you guys?
The glue guys in our show? Oh, Stugotz is the glue guy.
Yes.
Yeah, Stugotz is the glue guy.
He's not an all-star?
Nah, yeah, I'm with you, Rachel. Yes, I am a star.
Mike is the glue guy.
Yeah.
Is Mike not an all-star?
No,
Stugotz gets paid the most.
Right, well, because I negotiated the deal.
That's right. That's exactly how that happened.
Yes.
Again, check this out. NBA special tonight, 9 on ESPN2. She's also hosting playoff preview special at 7 on ESPN. She is the consummate professional. We are not. Thank you, Rachel, for being on with us.
Bye, boys.
Eddie Guadardo. Easy, Eddie.
Look at me now. I'm getting paper.
You pronounced his name wrong.
I did not. Guardado. Buffalo.
Easy, Eddie.
Cash more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz, 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNU.
Dan Le Batard.
Tom Ricketts is saying that the Cubs will not allow Sammy Sosa back into that organization for anything moving forward until he comes clean. And what I find absurd about that, and what a hypocrite this guy is that family made hundreds of millions of dollars off the name Sammy Sosa. By the way, never tested positive for steroid use. And if he was using steroids, which we all assume that he was, my guess is if he was using it, the Ricketts family had an inkling that was going on in their own clubhouse. And for him to come out many, many years later and say Sammy Sosa must come clean for us to allow him back into our prestigious organization, our club, get out of here with that.
Stugotz.
Yeah, Ricketts didn't make money off Sammy Sosa. He won the bid in 2009. This was post-Sammy Sosa.
Well, that ruins my argument.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Chael Sonnen going to be there in just a second here. Here's your SportsCenter update. After an MRI, Luke Bahamute is likely to miss. I can't say Chael Sonnen correctly, but I just said Luke Bahamute correctly. What does the matter with me? Anyway, he's likely to miss the first round of the playoffs with a dislocated right shoulder. Kevin Durant will restructure his contract with the Warriors instead of invoking his player option. Small little window there where KD's a little free agent. How about that? What do you think? He's going to go to the Rockets. And finally, George Lopez says Conor McGregor should be deported. Let me tell you something. They don't beat the Rockets, okay? I'm telling you this right now. The Rockets beat the Warriors. He's got a small little window, KD, and he leaves the Warriors, and he goes to the Rockets, and he reunites with James Harden. What a nice story that would be. Let me tell you, it's a story that results in 0 championships for KD. And if he does it, I'm taking championships away. KD might be the first guy in my personal record book to finish his career with -10 championships. How about that?
That's a bit much.
Why?
I mean, it could be -1.
He's at -4 right now. Okay, and I'm telling you, he goes to Houston, he joins that team.
Can we get to Chael Sonnen, please, dear God?
That's right. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
I mean, they haven't heard your KD take enough?
I left out a story.
You feel like some people missed your KD take?
George Lopez says Conor McGregor should be deported.
You read that already.
I gotta go to bed.
You said that already. You don't remember reading that sentence 3 sentences ago?
I gotta go to bed. Chael's on the line.
Chael Sonnen joins us on ESPN Radio. It's noon. I gotta go to bed.
Matt Lawton.
Chael Sonnen with us. What the hell's going on with McGregor, Chael? And thank you for joining us as always, my friend and nemesis.
Oh, well, Dan, if I could break some news for you. George Lopez says Conor McGregor should be deported.
I know.
Aqua?
I know, yeah. That's who I co-host this show with. He just read it 3 sentences ago.
What do you think of that? Chael, what do you think of that KD take?
Gentlemen, I thought you did a wonderful job. But, gentlemen, can I jump in on this Lopez thing? I assume because he's a comedian, he was kidding. But this was my first thought, too. Listen, if Conor McGregor committed what he's being charged with, a felony, I don't see how he gets out of it with all the videotape. He sent 3 people to the hospital in a premeditated attack. I have to imagine that's a felony. And to Lopez's point, whether he's making a joke or not, I think Trump's been pretty clear. You're not going to bring a bad actor to this country and then let him come back. So I think he's in a jam. I think there's a lot of truth to that statement, whether it's made by a comedian or not.
Okay, so what do you think is going to happen with Conor McGregor here? Like, just in general, you've been critical of his spending habits. You don't mind speaking your mind on these things. What do you think? How's this going to play out? He is out of control in a way we haven't quite seen before across sports.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, youth, power, and money have never been a great recipe. We largely see it in Hollywood, but we do see it in sports too, don't we? What's going to happen with Conor? He has a legal issue. I don't think that this is Dana White's job. I don't think Dana's going to make it his job. I think he handed it over to the appropriate authorities, which was the New York Police Department. But I don't see how this goes well. I mean, listen, it was premeditated. 3 people went to the hospital. That sounds not good to me. I was stunned. Dan, I have to add this for you. Of the 3 charges he's facing, 2 of them were misdemeanors, including the assault. The 3 people going to the hospital with shard glass, some of them in their face, their eyes, their hand, was a misdemeanor. That stuns me that New York law doesn't take that more serious.
Overall, though, Chael, good or bad for the UFC?
Well, look, I need a little link to answer that. I mean, overall, this is terrible. Dana called it a disgusting situation, and he's right. If you're asking me in the long term, has infamous always trumped famous? Yes, it has.
Especially in fighting.
There's just a reality there. There's a reality. In the short term, it's not a good play. I mean, Conor somehow is already getting street cred amongst his minions for defending his friend. Now, his friend's honor was never called into question, and neither was his physical harm. So that was a little bit weird, but some of his followers are a little bit weird. That's a reality.
Can you help me understand something? Because Dana doesn't think he's got a star problem, and I know you appreciate the athletes throughout your sport. But when he's going back to the Brock Lesnar when Brock Lesnar is, we all can look at Brock Lesnar, know he's been doing steroids without the help of the failed test. What do you do? What do you do with that? Like when you're going to Brock Lesnar and Conor McGregor's behaving this way, do you have enough stars right now in your sport?
I love what you said about Lesnar. Do we really need him to pee in a cup, or do we just need him to take his T-shirt off and point and go, suspended 6 months? That thing has always been a little bit silly. I will add this because I do hear about the star problem. Look, here's the truth for Dana White. Business is very good, but there are nights when business gets a bump. And, when you're Dana and you've done it this long, I think he lives for those big nights. He likes to do the biggest fights he can. So he doesn't have a business problem. If we're going to be real open about this, Dana doesn't have any problem business-wise, but he loves those bumps. Lesnar is a once-in-a-lifetime attraction. So, yeah, Dana's going to have some PR, but again, he does let the appropriate authorities, and our sport is the only one regulated by the government. So he's got that on his side. He can go, look, the government's call. I'm going to offer up his name. They're going to make the decision. They're going to run the test. I don't know that we can blame Dana on this one, but I do know a lot of people like to try.
What is Dana's biggest problem?
Well, I don't know that he's got too many. I think that he's got some things going really smooth, but he does like big fights. He does live for those moments. The Mayweather-McGregor, we can call it a circus if we want, but it did bring in the attraction. I think he had a lot of fun. I mean, you're dealing with a billionaire here that works 7 days a week, about 20 to 21 hours a day. So, yeah, he's got his own motivations, which is to put on these really big fights. I don't know that Dana has very many problems. I know the media likes to create them for him, but for a guy that produces a great sport that's doing really well, I think maybe he deserves a thank you every now and then.
Chael Sonnen with us on ESPN Radio.
But did you hear about George Lopez? He said Conor McGregor should be deported.
Yep, we did hear about that. He did say that, Chael. Thank you.
Le Batard, are you awake? I'm working comedy over here.
I know. Well, the thing I wanted to ask you, though, is because I was actually curious about your last fight, because while you're a great talker, you've also had a fighting career. And the last fight you had against Rampage, he offered $10,000 for every time you took him down. And I think how many times did you take him down? Didn't you take him down in every round?
Dan, I got him down 3 times. Rampage was a man of his word. He contacted me for my address. There was something about the high of victory where I apparently wasn't thinking clearly. Because I'm not this guy. I'm not the take the high road guy. I'm the take the money guy. And I declined it. I said, Paige, I'm not cashing that check. I might tweet it out on social media, but I will not cash it. And I did it. That was a bad move by me. I should have taken the money.
It sure was.
Wait a minute. The question was going to be, has Rampage paid you? I'm shocked that Rampage actually, after losing the fight, sent you a check for $30,000. And I'm the most shocked that you, on principle, haven't cashed it.
I'm a little surprised with myself, but yeah, I do feel that I have to give Paige the credit. I mean, that was a street move right there. That was 2 gentlemen. We shook hands. That was official. I would have paid, but I didn't know a lot of people were like me, right? My father was a gambler. I knew the rules of gambling. If you say bet, you got to bet. Paige is a man of his word.
All right.
It's amazing. I mean, Chad, when someone sends you a check, you deposit it. That's what you do.
That's the rules of Stugotz. What's going to happen here with Floyd, Chael? Floyd Mayweather, he says he's going to MMA. What's going to happen there?
Yeah, so this was, I think, a little bit of a surprise for even Floyd. He all that happened here, real simple, but he went into a gym one day in Las Vegas, an MMA gym that had a cage in it. So he takes his T-shirt off, jumps in, and tweets out a picture. I think he thought he'd get a little run for that day, and it would all go away. I think Floyd's looking left and right, going, "Oh my gosh, it's 7 weeks later, and this is still a headline." Of course, nobody smart stops a headline, good or bad. So Floyd wasn't even expecting to get this kind of run, but he's got to run it as long as it will go. There is zero chance that he'll get an MMA. He's not considered. He has not had one single practice, and I mean that literally. He has not gone to one MMA practice, but he's not going to stop a headline. And I'll tell you, gentlemen, this: he is 100% going to box again.
100%. You've got sources, or this is just common sense?
What common sense? Yeah,
boy.
Put his name out there.
Yes.
Yeah, he's in shape. And listen, the only thing more exaggerated than Floyd Mayweather's pay-per-view numbers is Floyd Mayweather's net worth. I mean, it is a money issue, and he needs it.
Wait a minute. Are those numbers exaggerated? How do you know that, son? And is that just common sense too, or do you know something there?
Well, first off, the two promoters couldn't agree on the number. They were separated by $2 million. I went to the fight. I had a great time. I'm not bagging on the fight. I'd love to see part two, but the reality is the venue wasn't sold out. If a venue doesn't sell out, you do not break pay-per-view records. Yes, it was greatly embellished, and never once did anybody from DirecTV, Time Warner, or Dish support those numbers. Those numbers were put out. You want to know what the biggest boxing fight of all time is? It's whoever put out the press release, and all the media ate it up without vetting it. That's the reality.
Chael Sonnen.
Yes.
Raining down lightning and truth. Good talking to you, Sonnen. We'll talk to you soon.
Wish I could say the same. Goodbye.
Splash.
Love that guy.
He's really good.
Yep.
Don Le Batard.
Game day bucket, go boom!
Stugotz.
I do like that idea, Goldie. Greedy. I like the idea. I have a friend named Goldie. I called you Goldie.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
If you missed any of the show, you can listen to all 3 hours of the Dan Le Batard Show on demand in the ESPN app, plus our Miami-only hour that airs before the show. And now you can subscribe to our Best of podcast. It's all available in the Listen tab of the ESPN app.
So did you watch the HBO Pacino Penn State thing, or did you just read about it? You were bothered when you came in here today about the whole Penn State thing.
I couldn't really sleep well last night, so I did. I watched the Andre the Giant documentary. Good, not great.
Bill Simmons is going to join us tomorrow. He doesn't like your appraisal of things, I don't think, here on a movie that he helped make.
I think I said it perfectly. Only because we do this for a living. Okay, I'm going to have to clarify this now to Simmons. Only because we do this for a living, I knew a lot of the stories about Andre the Giant because we've had people on here who have told us stories about Andre the Giant.
Mike, why are you looking at him that way?
I mean,
I'm still like at 45% sure he watched it. I'm not entirely sure he watched it.
I mean,
it's quite the leap of faith to trust that he watched it based off of what he's given us so far.
What can I do to prove it? Like, what? Tell me. Like, did anyone else watch it? Did anyone else watch it?
I've watched the trailer, so I'll know if you're picking something off of just the trailer. Like, if you rattle off
I didn't watch the trailer.
Okay. Oh, all right. So give me a detail. Give me something that...
I mean, other than farter and drinker, or things that we already know, give a detail, one detail you remember. Mike, this is a tough ask. Keep in mind.
Mean Gene's got a beautiful house. A beautiful house. And he put his hand over Mean Gene's face. That was his go-to move to show how big the hands are.
All in the trailer. All of that in the trailer.
Mean Gene's house?
I mean, Mean Gene's sitting in the house.
Let me think of something. I didn't see the trailer, so I don't know what wasn't in the trailer.
Regardless, I don't really want to deconstruct whether this is a lie or it isn't a lie. We were going to HBO and Paterno.
He drank so much because he was in pain. I mean,
it's straight from the trailer.
That was in the trailer?
Yeah, Carrie always said it.
Oh, man. Yeah, and then later on, after he had all this, like celebrity and had such a great run, and then it became really sad because then people, as he was getting past his prime and he was not the wrestler that he once was, people went from revering him and loving him and cheering him to mocking him as he was walking through the airport. So,
what color is Andre the Giant's daughter's hair?
Mike, did you catch him in the damn lie? Are we going to have to...
I'll tell you this. Andre had a ring.
Did you not watch the damn documentary, Stugotz?
Andre had a ring. Andre had a ring that Mean Gene, okay, so he wore it on his ring finger, and Mean Gene could put it around 3 of his fingers. How about that?
Is the Mean Gene part in the first 5 minutes? Because you just keep telling me about Mean Gene.
He's sprinkled throughout the movie. Mean Gene is sprinkled. Mean Gene really stole the show.
What color is Andre the Giant's daughter's hair?
What language was Andre the Giant's family speaking?
I believe it was French. Was it?
Can you give us something, please, on Paterno and the HBO Penn State movie?
Sure. So, listen, just to put a bow on Andre the Giant.
How did you know?
If you don't know anything, I'm tired, Tim. Because I was up watching documentaries all night. And so listen, this is what I'm telling you. If you don't know much about Andre the Giant, I suggest you watch it. You're going to love it, okay? If you know everything about Andre the Giant,
no need to watch it. Right. If you are an authority, if you are Andre the Giant's biographer, no need for you to watch a documentary on his life.
It's a real Rubicon. So on to this Penn State thing with Joe Paterno, okay? Here's the problem. First off, Pacino casted as Joe Paterno. Just a complete disaster. Please, I hope this was not the case. Joe Paterno walked through life just grunting at people, never said a word, never put 7 words together and formulated a complete sentence, just went through his entire life, because that's all Pacino did in the movie. Here's the issue I have, okay? Big time issue. The Penn State players, 300 former players, they all put this letter together and they're objecting to the movie and how Joe Paterno was portrayed in that movie and some of the scenes not being real and some of it didn't happen exactly like that. Dan, here's my overall problem, okay? Those 300 players, please, and I realize it's painful for them. I really do, because you believe the best in someone, especially Joe Pa, okay? But Joe Pa was handed this information by an assistant coach on a Friday that he saw Jerry Sandusky in a shower with a kid, and Joe Paterno did the bare minimum. In fact, he did worse. He waited 2 days to report it to anyone. And if you watched the documentary last night, he really didn't seem to care. It was always, I got to get back to football. I got to work. I got to watch film. And didn't really care. And so I know that stings for ex-Penn State players. But hey, rather than putting a letter together objecting to the movie and how he was portrayed, sit down for a second and read the facts. Because I don't read much, but that's one story. And Dan, you will back me up on this, that I actually paid attention to.
Okay. But what has happened in that story is that there were actual and real victims, and Penn State seems to think that they are among the victims, even though there were real and actual sexual abuse victims. Penn State counts itself among the victims here.
This is a really weird answer to what color is Andre the Giant's daughter's hair.
I mean, he's right about that.
Aqua?
I want to understand what it is that you're saying exactly about this Paterno.
I'm saying the Penn State players should stop worrying about how their former coach was portrayed and worry about the real victims in that entire story.
But do you not understand? And look, man, I'm not going to be out here defending Penn State and its causes. I just like looking at the multiple angles. Do you not understand why the people who know Joe Paterno the best, or feel like they do, think that it's an inaccurate portrayal to take the guy they think is a saint and turn him into a one-dimensional grunting guy who doesn't actually care about people? I do understand why they wouldn't want him defined by his worst public act, even as all of us define him now by his worst public act, because the worst public act was an inaction of the highest order.
We also need to quit calling it a documentary. If Al Pacino's in the documentary and playing someone other than Al Pacino, it's not.
Very good point.
Don Le Batard.
I can't believe Mike Ryan fell asleep during. That is an affront to art. It's just blasphemy.
Who goes to Vegas for shows, honestly?
Really?
Stugotz.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas for shows?
Yes, you go to Vegas for shows.
No, I go to Vegas to gamble to get away from my wife.
Okay, that too.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. After an MRI, Luke Bahamute is likely to miss the first round of the playoffs with a dislocated right shoulder. Kevin Durant will restructure his contract with the Warriors instead of invoking his player option. And finally, Luis Fonsi's record-breaking smash hit, Despacito, was deleted from YouTube by a group of hackers just days after making history by becoming the first video with 5 billion views. Wow. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
The lyrics on that song are terrible. I know that Allison and Mike and Chris Cody sang it one time. Despacito is the single biggest hit in the history of Latin music, not just because of the measurements that Stugotz gave you, but the English translation of that song is unspeakably stupid. Speaking of which, time for my favorite color.
Oh.
Dan's favorite colors: orange, yellow, purple, pink, blue, magenta, green.
What number are we on?
There's controversy.
Will he choose which color? 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 Will he choose today?
I told you guys yesterday what my colors were, 14th, 13th, and 12th.
Unofficial.
No, what do you mean unofficial?
Unofficial.
I told you yesterday 14 was orchid, 13 was Navajo white, and 12 was moccasin. I told you that.
Okay, so are you still saying that orchid is 14 today?
Yes, I'm saying that today. 14, 13, and 12.
All right, so 14 is official, 13 and 12 unofficial.
All right, whatever.
We'll find out tomorrow.
All right, can we find out?
Guessing, Dan.
All right, fine. We'll find out tomorrow. Can we find out today what Rick Springfield, the 80s icon and heartthrob, the author of Jesse's Girl that was going to be Gary's Girl, what his 19th favorite, can we call him real quick? Rick Springfield, what is your 19th favorite color?
Springfield's favorite colors: orange, yellow, purple, pink, blue, magenta, green. Will he choose which color? 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 Will he choose today?
So, Rick Springfield, 80s icon and sexual dynamo, General Hospital, Jesse's Girl, your 19th favorite color is?
Purple, like Barney.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, so we got 19 from him, and you got 14 from me, and 13 and 12.
Unofficial. I don't know about you guys, but I like Rick's list better than Dan's because Rick seems into it. Seems like he cares. He's explaining. He's giving you, a little something on the back end of it with Barney. I mean, he's into it.
I mean, let's not forget, though, he's given the creme de la creme, top 20. Dan had to deal with a lot more.
Well, I got purple at number 2. He's got it at 19. What do you mean his list is better than mine? Guillermo,
just the
put
way
it on
he's
the poll.
approaching his list.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Purple as a color for you. Closer to number 2, your second favorite, or your 19th favorite? Just on your personal lists.
Right.
As we continue to create our personal lists of this stuff.
I mean, I'd be into the debate if you were to take it seriously, but you're clearly not.
Right. And Rick is. I mean,
you're making a joke of it while Rick Springfield is taking his sweet time every day. Busy superstar, to call us and give us one color.
I mean, you get red at 36. I mean, anyone's got red at 36 is not taking this thing seriously. That's it.
To be fair, we don't know where red is.
The point of these lists is to make them controversial so people talk about them. It's not to actually give your favorites. It's to make it controversial enough that Chuck Solitore will wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, feed it to the ESPN monster that needs something for its maw. Next thing you know, you got a mock draft, a power ranking, and the undefeated is calling Babe Ruth black. Or wait a minute, that's Stugotz's personal record book. I don't think the undefeated has done that.
That's a fine.
What do you make of this Donovan Mitchell-Ben Simmons back and forth where Ben Simmons is saying that he's 100% the rookie of the year and Donovan Mitchell's looking at him like, hey, I've got all the same credentials. I just play in Utah. I've got all the credentials you do, and you're not even a rookie. So he comes in. Donovan Mitchell actually comes. Is this the showiest Utah Jazz player of all time? Because they are short shorts, John Stockton and Karl Malone.
Well, who would be that guy if it's not Donovan Mitchell? Let's start there, because I can't even think of one.
Who is the showiest Utah Jazz player ever? Because Donovan Mitchell, and this had to make Jerry Sloan furious. Jerry Sloan, the Utah Jazz, they come from a different time. We've said before that Jerry Sloan might be the originator of our looks like game. We said Jerry Sloan looks like someone who washes his hair with a bar of soap. That might have been the first looks like we ever did. Jerry Sloan.
I think you're right.
The Utah Jazz, have they ever had a flamboyant player? Because Donovan Mitchell is showing up for the game last night with the definition of rookie printed on his shirt.
They had Greg Ostertag.
Between him or Matt Harpring.
Oh, my God.
Wait a minute. Have the Utah Jazz never had a showy player?
I mean, Paul Millsap is kind of electric.
I think you might be right. Somebody give me put it on the poll, Guillermo, at Batard show. Have the Utah Jazz ever had a showboat player? Because Donovan Mitchell, look, man, we love the pettiness of the NBA. We love that these guys all have the power and the personality. And one of the reasons that basketball is getting more popular with young people is because it has all the soap opera elements. These guys are willing to go back and forth. Joel Embiid is like a 7-foot millennial who has fun on social media. It's a generational war being waged right now in the NBA.
It is. And listen, I understand what Mitchell's doing, and maybe he's got a good point with Simmons missing a year, but he's still a rookie. And I would argue that after like James Harden and a couple of other guys, that Ben Simmons might be the MVP of the league. Seriously. Like, he's right around the triple-double. They haven't lost since Embiid got hurt. He plays in Philadelphia, and that stinks for Donovan Mitchell. It's just a bigger market. But I think Simmons is the better player. Listen, I'm ready to go in with this. You guys think Ben Simmons is the MVP?
You're ready to go in? It's baked? It's baked? Well, wait a minute. Is it fully baked? Yes or no? It's usually your stuff is half baked. Is this ready to go fully baked out in front of the American people? Stugotz is ready. Mike, he's cooking. Mike, he's cooking. Stugotz is cooking. Everybody back off.
Listen, this is a team that won 50 games. This is a team that has had a decade plus of really, really bad basketball. The only difference between this team and all those other teams is Ben Simmons.
Feed him.
50 wins, going to the playoffs. Stephen A. Smith predicting they'll go to the Eastern Conference Finals. What's the difference between this team and all those other teams? It's Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons, without question. Period. End of discussion. Is the MVP of the league.
The whole league?
The entire league.
Who's better than him?
Maybe James Harden.
The answer's nobody. Who's better than him?
Nobody is better than Ben Simmons. No one has meant more to his team than Ben Simmons. James Harden has Chris Paul. James Harden has Capella. James Harden has Luke Bahamute, defensive glue guy. Okay? Ben Simmons is playing with a broken Joel Embiid.
He's not good, except he's the greatest.
Well, he's the greatest when he plays. Unfortunately, he only plays half the games. That's it. He only plays half the games, and they haven't fallen off at all without Embiid. And Ben Simmons, I'm telling you, he's a triple-double machine. That's what he is.
Oh, what type of company does he keep?
Well, he keeps very lousy company because Embiid is hurt, and that's why he's the MVP.
I was talking about statistically, like Robertson, Harden, James, those guys.
No, he's better than those guys. Michael Jordan is where I have him. Ooh. He is, listen, you want to talk about LeBron? Is LeBron Jordan, Jordan LeBron? No, Ben Simmons is the next Michael Jordan.
Oh,
how about that?
It's the hottest of all hotness.
And here's the thing.
Give it to him, Stu.
He can do it with his left. He can do it with his right.
Amber.
He can grab rebounds.
Dexterous.
He can play defense.
Oh, all sides.
He can dish him out.
Oh, assist machine.
Field goal percentage is fantastic.
Fantastic, but what about from deep?
Perhaps he struggles from three.
Okay, just one mistake.
But that's okay. He'll learn it.
Oh, everyone gets better.
Great at the free throw line.
Oh.
He's a rookie who plays like a 10-year vet.
Oh.
That means he's poised.
He's terrible from the free throw line.
Mike, I was on a roll. And no one's checking these facts except for you.
Is he a rookie?
Not my personal.
Oh, we found it! We found it!
But he's the MVP.
You can listen to the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio, and you can watch on ESPNU.